best behavior. Best behavior. All right, Madam President, appears that we have a quorum. We can start the meeting.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting. I'm live today in the office. Oh, and we have a quorum, as you stated. Oh, let's see. Let's welcome. Do we have any special guests? I don't think anybody's real special up there, are they?
We're all special, Lucy, but
everybody's special, especially in December. This is December.
We have a couple non-board members. I'll just point out at the top. Moira Manning, who's the Commissioner of Division of Children and Family Services for
Yes.
County, and Alan Walther, who's our auditor. He'll be making the compelling audit presentation.
Morning, Alan.
Bob Ryan, who's our attorney.
Morning.
Joe Mancini, Facility Director, and Luke Jacobs, Director of Secure Detention Services for Berkshire Farm. And our fabulous and intrepid board members are also here from the counties.
Good morning. We have a quorum, and we'll continue right along. Oh, the October the 21st, 2020 meeting minutes. Everyone have their copies with them? Oh, do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
The motion is being made. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
You made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any disapprovals?
Who
Okay.
seconded it, please?
Anybody
Kristen.
disapprove?
Kristen, thank you.
Oh, okay. Oh, Christian's here? Okay. Oh, no disapproval? And it was unanimous vote? Yes. Number 4. No, number 3, I'm sorry. Financial statement through November, number 2028.
Included in your packet are the financial statements through November 20th.
Yes.
As I mentioned at a previous meeting, the format of the financial statement presentation will follow this similar format in that you'll get a profit and loss performance to budget report and a profit and loss by class report in addition to the balance sheet. So secure detention, profit and loss, we're tracking at 87.27% of budget. PAR through November 30th is about 91%. And Berkshire Farms statement of actual expenses are also included. It includes estimates for October and November expenses for Berkshire Farm. On the SSD side, still tracking slightly less and slightly less performance to budget, about 72% to budget. And again, the SSD expenses for Berkshire Farm are also included in your packets. I'll point out that the repair and maintenance line for CDYCI is over budget by 45%, and that's primarily due to the cost of replacing a condenser for the facility's chiller before the summer. So, you know, we are approaching the maximum life of a lot of the equipment in the building. So while we wait to proceed with the capital improvements in the building, we may incur some of these more out of the normal expenses. So and you'll see in the proposed budget, I've slightly increased the repair and maintenance line for next year. But any questions on the financials?
No questions here.
No.
We could spot it up just a little bit for those who have optical problems and see the numbers well. But anyway, no complaints. Anyone else have a concern?
No. I think we just we'll need a motion.
We need a vote on this, a motion to vote this. Prove it and vote.
So moved, Warner.
So moved by Walter. Second?
Second.
In a second? Laura? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Any disapproval? No? Hearing none, it's approved. Okay, number 5, 2021. No, you got the audit is next, right? Audit.
Right. So
Audit.
we have our audit presentation here.
Yes.
The audit process was a bit delayed this year for a number of reasons, but I'm comfortable blaming the pandemic for that.
Yes, blame that.
No downside to doing that. So we have with us here Alan Walther from Bonadeo, and Alan, I'll bring up the financial statement if you want me to, and we can just talk through it. Okay.
Yeah, that works for me, Mark.
Let me just figure out how to share my screen here.
So while Mark is doing that, we did do the audit 100% remotely because of COVID. So, a big thank you to Mark and Tom and Amy for providing all of the information that we needed to complete the audit remotely. The audit, the reports are in draft form today. As far as we're concerned, they're ready to be issued pending approval by the board. So I see Mark has brought up the financial statements. So Mark, if you want to scroll to the first page, the independent auditors report, we can talk about that. In the important information here, management's responsibility right there, that second section, management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements. So what we're saying there is that the financial statements are CDYCIs. We assist in the preparation of them, but they are your responsibility. So our responsibility is the next section. Our responsibility is to express an opinion on these financial statements based on our audit. And then the next paragraph, an audit involves performing procedures to obtain audit evidence about the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. So what we really do as your auditors is really a combination of two tests. We do some control tests where we test transactions through the accounting system, cash receipts and cash disbursements primarily, and then we do substantive tests where we test the balances of the financial statement accounts, the cash, the receivables, the payables. And from those two types of tests, we gather audit evidence. And from our audit evidence, we form an opinion on your financial statements. And Mark, if you scroll to the very top of the next page, shows our opinion right there. Perfect. Our opinion, which I'll paraphrase, in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly the financial position of Capital District Youth Center as of December 31st, 2019. That is what we as auditors call an unmodified opinion, and that is the highest level of assurance we can give on your financial statements. Okay? So the next section, pages 3 through 5, is the management's discussion and analysis. I'm going to skip over that in its entirety. Do read that. It gives some good comparative information of 2019 versus 2018, but we'll talk about pretty much everything that's in there as we go through the actual CDYCI financial statements. So Mark, if you scroll to the statement of net position, which is page 6, is the next. Yep, one more page. Yep, right there. Perfect. So the statement of net position is a snapshot of CDYCI's financial position as of December 31st. You can see total assets right there at the bottom of the screen, $2,949,000, most of which was cash and due from other governments, which is the amounts that's due from the counties. Your total liabilities $2.8 million. That is predominantly, the vast majority of that is the amount that's due to Berkshire Farms for operations. And then the accounting formula is assets minus liabilities is your net position. CDYCI has a net position as of the end of December 2019 of $143,000. If you want to scroll to the next page, Mark, is your statement of revenue, expenses, and changes in net position for 2019. So your total operating revenues for the year, $3.6 million. If you look in the MD&A, it does give some comparative information versus 2018. Your total revenue in 2018 was approximately $2,885,000. So you had a pretty significant increase in 2019, and that increase was predominantly within the specialized secure detention, which is a new program in 2018, ramped up more in 2019. Your expenses, operating expenses, total occupancy expenses were $3 million, or almost $3.1 million. Most of it is the operation services, which is paid over to Berkshire Farms, of 1.8 and 1.2. Obviously, those expenses rose with the increase in the revenues. Your administrative expenses, $402,000 approximately paid to Berkshire Farms, $102,000 to CDRPC, $55,000 of professional fees, which is the audit fee and some attorney fees. So your net operating income was a little bit over $1,000. You took in $583 of interest. So your net position increased a little bit over $1,600 for the year. Okay. And then the last report to review briefly is your cash flow. So CDYCI took in $942,000 of cash from operating activities. You withdrew approximately $40,000 from your reserve accounts. So your net change in cash, you took in $583 of cash for interest. Your net increase in cash was $903,000. Added to your cash at the beginning of the year of $493,000 brings you to your cash at the end of the year of $1,396,000. Pages 9 through 11 are the notes to the financial statements. I'm going to skip over those. It gives description of the operations, the accounting policies. And then if you just go to the very last report is on page 12, which is our independent auditor's report on internal control and on compliance. In accordance with government auditing standards, because the CDYCI is a governmental entity, this is a required report. So the important information here is at the very bottom of page 12, right there where it says, given these limitations during our audit, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control. So no internal control findings. And then on the next page, which is with regard to compliance, the very last sentence in the compliance and other matters section, the results of our tests disclose no instances of non-compliance or other matters. So the overall results of the audit, unmodified opinion on your financial statements, which is the highest level of assurance we can give, no internal control findings, and no compliance findings.
Okay.
Any questions?
Well, thank you for the presentation, Alan.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Alan and his
Thank you
team
very much.
for their flexibility and also for their persistence in following up with us and making sure that we were getting them the materials that they needed. I will say our new accountant, Tom White, has done an amazing job of consolidating finances, of working with me to create a new new financial procedures to make sure that we're tracking SD and SSD expenses appropriately, making sure we're classifying those expenses either as operational expenses or raise the age expenses, making sure we're keeping on track of accounts receivable and accounts payable, and procedures have really greatly improved in 2019 from where they were. So this is the first audit to sort of reflect those new changes under Tom's leadership. So again, I appreciate his work, and thank you again to Alan and Bonadio.
Okay, Bonadio. We have to have a vote on this audit report, right?
Yes, a vote to accept the audit.
Well, can I get a motion? Who was that speaking? Laurie? Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Any opposition? That was garbled. Did I hear no opposition, right?
No opposition.
It's approval. Okay, thank you. Let's move right along. Thank you very much, Alan Walters.
Thank you.
Okay, have a
Be
nice
well.
day.
You
Bye-bye
too.
now.
Thank you, Alan.
All right, thank you.
Number 5, 2021 meeting schedules. You got a new list of schedules coming up for next year?
Right, I
Okay.
want to note a change to the meeting schedule. The meeting dates could be in 2021, not 2020 as they're listed. So just make that note. Thank you, Barbara, for pointing that out.
I think you did that last year too, didn't you? That's okay.
Yeah, it's a
At
tradition.
least you're consistent.
Keeps you on your toes.
Okay. Okay.
So we'll just need a motion to.
There's no motion for this. A motion for the schedule.
I'll move that.
Move. The second.
Second, Warner.
Okay. Warner's okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
No.
Hearing none, it's unanimous. Okay, now next is the report from the nominating committee, number 2031, schedule 2031. Who is that?
This is Laura Bauer, the chair of the nominating committee for
Yes.
the officers for 2021. And
Mhm.
I'd like to propose the following slate in line with our protocols for order of filling these based on county. President Laura Bauer, Rensselaer County. Vice
Yes.
President Stephen Bale, Saratoga County. Secretary Samantha Miller, Ferrera, Schenectady County, and Treasurer William Connors, Albany County.
Mhm.
And you may have received an incorrect version of the packet, which had the previous slate of candidates. So the ones
Yeah.
that are just read out are the proposed slate of candidates.
Okay. Yes, because I don't have that. Thank you. Do we have to vote for approval of the slate of candidates? I have that.
I think Robert's rules dictates that nominations need to be open to the floor.
Okay. Are there any statements about the nominees? Okay. Hearing none,
So I guess
Well-
nominations are closed from the floor.
close on the floor and just ignore the ones that have the old slate on it and just assume you got the right slate and just go forward and vote for the lot, right? 2, 4 is 4 people.
Right. So again, it's Laura Bauer for president, Steve Bale for vice president, Samantha
president.
Herrera from Schenectady for
Treasurer.
secretary, and
Uh-huh.
Bill Connors for treasurer.
Connors, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so we just need a motion to approve the
Motion
elected
to-
legal officers.
A motion to accept.
I move to accept the slate.
Okay.
I'll second it. It's Kristen.
Motion is second. Question from Albany County. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposition? Hearing none, it's approved, unanimous. Okay. Number 7, 2021 SD and SSD budget. Number
Okay.
2032.
Now we're getting into the good stuff. All
Yeah.
right. So, expenses, are proposed to increase again in the 2021 proposed budget. Overall, the increase proposed is about 7.8%. Of note, Berkshire Farms operating budget as proposed for 2021 is 18% less than it is from 2020. However, their SSD budget is 55% more than it was in 2020. And Luke can go into some of these things, but certainly covered in his budget memo that he provided to the board with their operations budget. In a nutshell, the increased costs on the SSD side result in, obviously a higher census with having to flip the units. So now we have many more AO youth in the facility. In addition, Berkshire Farm is proposing what I think is a very wise staffing plan for the SSD side of the facility to bring on staff at appropriate numbers to better ensure safety of staff and youth within the facility, as the facility is now hosting many violent 16, 17, and 18-year-old youths in the SSD side of the facility. The operator management fee would remain at 13%. So that's standard of what Berkshire has charged for the last couple of years. Again, a summary of these changes has been provided in a memo by Luke Jacobs of Berkshire Farms. The SSD budget this year again includes $284,000 of pre-construction costs that was included in the 2020 budget. We did not spend any in that year. We've heard some indications that we may be able to proceed with the capital project in 2021. So that $284,000 represents 40% of the estimated $710,000 total pre-construction budget. With the flipping of the SD and SSD wings, our cost allocations have also flipped. So now those cost allocations will be 50.88% of shared costs on the SSD side versus 49.12% on the SD side. Just going over a little bit of what the proposed budget looks like and percent changes by line. So this is the total budget, which includes Berkshire's operations budget on this line, which is increased by about 10%. Proposing to decrease the legal expense budget line by half. We didn't really have to avail ourselves too much from Bob's services this year, and increase the repairs and maintenance line by 25%, just anticipating perhaps some of the 20-year-old equipment in the facility will continue to fail and need to be replaced. Noting on Berkshire's operation budget, I just highlighted the budget lines that have had more than a 10% change. And so you'll see there's a 10% change in the detention counselor lines. Senior detention counselor lines decreased by almost 10%. Supervisory detention counselors increased by 15.1%. And these changes align with what Luke's proposed for the staffing plan in terms of changing sort of the leadership structure of the staff that deliver the services to the youth to, again, ensure that safety. Per diem and overtime, this is not surprising, with people being quarantined for COVID and with also the facility continuing to be in the process of staffing up to where it needs to be. The per diem and the overtime rates are substantially increased this year for the upcoming budget. Food is also increased on the expense side for program by 45%, and that has to do with the census. When we started the year, we were budgeting around 60-70% occupancy. We're at almost 90-95% occupancy on the regular nowadays. Insurance, for whatever reason, and I've been noticing this throughout the year, Berkshire's insurance costs have increased substantially, and this, obviously operating a new SSD facility contributes to that. And staff development, and I know perhaps Luke and Joe can talk a little bit about this later on, but a variety of new restrictions are being imposed on what staff can do to control youth in the facility. And there's a considerable amount of training that staff will need to undertake to be able to use alternative techniques to be able to safely control and restrain youth who may be out of control in the facility. So that contributes to that. So I'll just ask Luke to hit on any highlights that I may have missed.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for presenting the budget like that. Our major increase, as you will see, is staffing. With the flip in the dorms, it's required us to have a higher level of staffing, and we have noticed that the youth, especially in the AO side, have become a much more difficult set of youth, which has brought about some increase in incidents in the past 6 months. Now, we are still far below other facilities in our number of incidents, but we want to keep it that way. And so our increase in staffing is going to be able to cover the necessary ratios we have to cover for staffing with the flip. And also it's going to provide an additional staff on our rapid response team every shift. So if there are issues, we can quickly work through them. And as Mark said, with regards to our overtime and our per diems, this pandemic has brought on a lot of times when we've had staff who just can't come to work at certain times with little notice to us. And so we are having to bulk up our per diem pool and sometimes have staff stay at extra shifts to cover to make sure we're staying in ratio. We do hope to see with some of the additional staff members that we'll be able to cut back on that, but we need to prepare for it. And one thing of note is we have gone through all of our staffing lines, and wherever we have been able to decrease, because we have a lot of new staff, we've been able to decrease. So I want to thank my chief financial officer being able to find savings in the staffing line to make sure that we can make the increase as small as possible. With regards to the food service line, and you'll notice at the top of the budget, the child nutrition income that you'll see is about $12,000. So we need to participate in the child nutrition program with the state. And OCFS is requiring us to do this. Now, what this does require us to do is to follow a group of policies and procedures that we don't currently follow with regards to our food service. On a good note, our vendor, JR Proprietors, is going to be able to provide all of those services that we need, which is great. We were concerned that we wouldn't find a vendor who could do it, but they're going to be able to. However, it's going to require them to increase the amount they need to charge because they're going to need to hire new staff and buy some new software to make sure we can comply with this program. We are being required to do it. You'll notice that the income from the revenue is only $12,000. And that will be much higher in 2022. The reason being is that you cannot apply to be in this program until April, from April to August. And the program does not go into effect until September 1st when the new school year starts. So this revenue of $12,000 is only for September through December of 2021. That's all we're going to be able to do. However, in 2022, we'll be able to collect revenue from January through December. So it'll be 4 times as great, which will help to offset the cost. But this is something we have to do. And the other thing that Mark noted is our increase in staff development. Right now, being asked to prepare for June 1st, when we will no longer be able to utilize prone restraints with youth, which is to put them flat on the ground, and which is going to require a lot of training. It's that technique is something we've used since we have been opened. It's been an accepted technique. But we're no longer going to be able to do it, and we're going to need to retrain staff in some brand new techniques, which means we're going to need to not only train staff, but we're going to need to get trainers and develop trainers among them so that we can do that. So we want to make sure we do that right, so we keep staff and youth safe and also follow regulations. So Joe has developed a plan to get us in line with these new regulations by June 1st. It's a nice, well thought out plan over the next 7 months of training staff. But it is going to require us to spend some additional money on staff development. And as Mark talked about, insurance in the child welfare and child service industry is going up every year. It's not something that we can stop from happening. We work with our insurance carriers to get the lowest possible insurance that we can get, but those rates are continuing to go up, and we need to make sure we maintain our insurance. So that is for the large leap there, but is not something that Berkshire could control at the time.
Okay.
Are there any questions on the budget that I could answer for anybody?
No, satisfied. Let's see.
So, just to put a finer point on the child nutrition income requirement. So, Berkshire Farm did an audit to determine that that program really wasn't cost effective. But OCFS is requiring us to pursue that, and those are federal subsidies for eligible youth, in the program. So at the end of the day, we're spending, more money to save almost as much money, which, I think really is the gold standard of bureaucracy. But what are you going to do?
Yeah. What is our audit today, the current audit at the facility? The number of inmates?
The facility roster, the number of youth.
The roster, you call it, yes.
We have 19 youth in the facility. There are 13 AOs and 6 JDJOs.
Okay.
Which has been pretty consistent. We've been running between 19 and 22 since about March. We had the height where we were at 24 for several weeks. We were totally full, but between 19 and 22 has been our average.
Are there any special kind of things going on Christmas Day or even Christmas Eve?
I'm going to let Joe speak about that. And actually,
okay.
Joe has developed quite, when he does his facility discussion, he's done several things to help make the facility safer and run much smoother. He's come up with some great groups.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover in Joe's facility update.
Yes. So he's going to be speaking a lot about that then.
He's speaking later. Okay, Dan. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate this. Okay.
Are there any other budget questions?
No, I guess so. We'll vote on that budget. That's right. Do I hear?
Thank you, Luke.
Barbara,
Did someone say something? I didn't hear well.
Barbara, I accept the budget. I move to accept the budget.
Accept the budget. And second. All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any disapproval? Hearing none, it's unanimous. Thank you again.
Thanks,
Okay.
Luke.
Okay, then. We go on to the next one, RTA Plan 2021 Cost Updates, Memo Number 2033.
So OCFS has, I've heard, reached out to the counties to start the process for finalizing 2020 and 2021 Raise the Age plans, which was news to me, but I'm glad they're doing it. So I've been coordinating with OCFS to make sure that the counties have the information that they need to finalize their detention costs and the cost allocations among the 4 counties for detention operations expenses and also detention Raise the Age expenses. If you recall, we were not able to include some of the expenses that we incurred to operationalize the SSD facility in the 2018-2019 Raise the Age plan. So they are proposed and approved to be included in the 2020-2021 Raise the Age plan, in addition to the bedroom furniture project costs. So we have billed the counties for all of the prior work. We have yet to bill the counties for the bedroom furniture project. However, once the Raise the Age plans get approved, all of those expenses will be reimbursable at 100% for the counties. In addition, since the Raise the Age plans also include operational expenses, and if any individual county exceeds their share of operations expenses in the Raise the Age plan, all the Raise the Age plans will have to be updated. So in order to try to avoid that scenario, I've submitted to OCFS updated budget numbers for the 2020 budget year and for the 2021 budget year. The 2021 budget year obviously reflects Luke's proposed operations budget changes, and certain changes in the 2020 budget year reflect a higher percentage of Raise the Age youth being housed on the SD side So that's an important part of that calculation. So those have been submitted. I'm going to be submitting the final costs for the bedroom furniture project shortly to OCFS. I'll be coordinating with the folks in the counties who are in the lead on these raise the age planning documents so that they can get their detention costs squared away shortly. Any questions on that?
Okay. That's good. You went ahead of that. You got it going. Raise the age. Okay. Any more questions or concerns? Prepared to vote? Did I hear vote?
I don't think we need to vote on that
Oh,
one.
no,
It was just-
that was not a votable. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay. So we move right along to number 9, the facility use. Memo 2034.
So again, we're, at historic highs in terms of facility youth. We flipped the operations for the AO male from the 8-bed to the 13-bed wing. This is, what the population of the facility looks like from April 1st through November 30th. You can obviously see the 4 CDYCI counties having the lion's share of the youth. I will point out that this Westchester youth is actually in exchange for an Albany County youth. And this Orange County youth is actually, his court is in Schenectady County. So both of these out-of-county youth are related to CDYCI counties. The longer-term trend, I mean, this visual, I think, tells the story. We're seeing declining, we have declining capacity for JDs and JOs, that's the blue line, but steady increases in the AO population since the beginning of the year. Any questions on the facility use?
Yeah. No vote on this one either. We could just move right along to number 10, the Berkshire Farms Agreement Approval, Memo number 2035.
Go back to one musical comments.
Where
So
you want me to go?
No, this is our annual renewal of Berkshire Farms Agreement. I will point out that the 2020 agreement included provisions for it to be extended for up to 5 years. However, there were some slight adjustments to the 2021 agreement that we needed to make to comply or to be in conformance with the internal controls procedures that the board adopted at our last meeting, particularly relating to circumstances where the rate that we get from OCFS in an individual quarter will not cover our actual expenses. And so it basically says that, and the revenues derived from the per diem rate will be allocated based on the proportionate share of the actual costs between CDYCI and Berkshire Farm. And then at the end of the year, we'll reconcile those costs out. So that language was added to the Berkshire Farm agreement. But other than that, there are no significant changes. So board action is just requested to approve the Berkshire Farm operator agreement.
Okay.
So moved.
Dr. Lowe, I hear a second.
Warner.
Second, Laura Bauer.
Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposition? There's none, so unanimous approval. Okay. All right, number 11, Facility Operations Agency Report from Berkshire, number 11.
To Joe and Luke to give the facility report.
Sure, I'll jump in. To echo what Luke was saying, we've been maintaining the safety and security. We're still one of the safest detention centers in the state. There was a lively discussion on the call yesterday with OCFS and all detention administrators where they've seen an increase in unprovoked youth on youth and youth on staff assaults. We haven't seen that. Several of our recent incidents were due to, we have some youth with very, very high mental health needs that we were responding to. But moving and we have the staffing issues that we're managing and we're going to handle with the new restructuring that we're doing. And so what we've set up is, I have a facility climate committee to just find out the staff issues that they're dealing with. Historically, it's been a real top-down protocol here, and there wasn't a great exchange of information. So I really want to hear what the staff's, their issues. Also, we created a youth council where we meet monthly. And they've been giving us some really good information on ways to improve it, their issues, some feedback they're giving. And in return, I'm asking them to be leaders in the facility. They have to be on this council. You need to set examples and become leaders in your units and what you're doing day to day. So that's been going really well. We've increased opportunities. We've bought several different games that they've chose. We're looking at increasing their access to movies. We also have a post-restraint review team that we review, come together, we review restraints, what worked, what didn't, and then we're going to develop training out of those meetings to train the staff. And we meet weekly on just going over any issues that we have with the youth, whether it's on the floor or medical, mental health issues such as that, so we can stay on top of that. So we've really increased communication. And we put a committee together to look at our AO programming. Now, the AOs are distinct in that they're here for longer periods of time. They're older, their needs are a bit different. So we put a group together to look at, let's design a program model for that population and kind of identify what track they're going on when they come. Is it likely they're going to OCFS in prison? Is it likely they may get 6 and 5, or is it likely they may go home? So we're going to look at the program that we're doing internally, and then even if they're going to go home, working with the probation departments to do some aftercare planning and develop their skills and how they can succeed while on probation. So we got a lot on our plate. Right now, we're just kind of responding to the population, but we got the structure in place. We're going to move forward on those. And, it's encouraging. The staff is starting to buy in. It's a significant change for them, but I want to maintain the structure and move into a more engaging model, but really maintain the safety and security. I don't want to lose that. I think that's about everything. Luke, have I missed anything?
I don't think so. I think it's just important to note that all of Joe's changes are part of a grand plan to move to a much more therapeutic programming for youth, as we're seeing these high levels of youth with mental health. So this process that Joe's instituting, he's done a lot in the past 2 months, but this is going to be a process over the next 6 to 8 months. And we are working to not only have that be in the facility, but how we can move that into helping these kids when they leave the facility and preparing things. So we have a lot of great plans over the next year that we're going to be putting in place, but this is the foundation and the groundwork to get the youth and staff to buy into these programs so that we can start making some of these bigger changes. And Joe, with his experience working at OCFS, having made these changes with OCFS facilities, he knows some of the pitfalls, and so he's able to help us navigate them and prepare for them before we enter them. We're really lucky right now in the direction that we're moving.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. And Lucy asked about Christmas before.
Oh, yeah. So we've got gifts for all the youth, and we'll have a meal catered around the holiday time.
Great.
Between New Year's and Christmas is what our plan will be.
Oh, very nice. Did you say they were getting gifts?
Yes, we have gifts. Yes.
Gift wrap gifts. That sounds great.
Yeah.
I have a
Barbara's
question
giving-
about the education part.
What do you say, Barbara?
I just wanted to ask about what's going on with South Colony, if the teachers are coming in or if the education piece is all remote.
They're coming in.
Yes.
They're coming in the facility, Barb.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
they started in September coming in. We actually ran a summer school program with them coming in, and since summer school, they have been coming in live. As Mark's going to note with the next memo, as far as our COVID policies, our staff are very much on top of following COVID policies, which make the teachers feel safe, the youth feel safe in there, so we're able to maintain live in school.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Joe and Luke, if I just may add, I know you're collaborating with probation to really look at kids that are returning to the community. Please include DCYF because we operate children's mental health as well as we have community integration programs that could be available for those youth.
And I think, Maura, you bring up a great point. That's what Joe and I are going to be looking at in the long term on how we can integrate both our detention programming as well as the community programming each of these 4 counties have as we do operate. Berkshire has a lot of knowledge about the programs in the community that you all operate, and so that we can have a seamless move from detention to community programming so that these youth can be supported so that they don't come back to detention.
Capital Region Youth Justice Team has a reintegration committee.
Yes.
So if there's information you want to push out to them, that would benefit the 9 counties. Or if you
Yeah,
want
I had a call with Kevin Walsh to begin the conversation, but that's a great idea. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. There's no vote on this, but very nice presentation. Thanks very much. Very nicely done. Okay, we'll move right along to the FCOC COVID-19 protocols and visit letter.
Yes, this is just a report to say that the facility and the facility staff are doing what they should be doing in terms of COVID-19 procedures. They were audited by the State Commission of Corrections, and we received this letter from Chairman Alan Riley just commending the staff at Berkshire Farm for doing what they need to do to follow the health and safety guidelines related to COVID-19. So thank you, Luke, and thank you, Joe, for making sure the staff and
nice.
youth are in compliance.
Total compliance. That's good. Hey, is there any other business? Did we wrap it up that quickly? What do you say? More business?
I don't have any other business. Just a reminder that our next meeting is going to be January 20th, 2021.
2021.
New year, new opportunities. You know, we're all looking forward to it.
Yes, we need
Looking
it.
forward to a new year.
Happy holidays, everyone, and thank you for your support and Happy New
Is
Year.
that the day of inauguration of the president? The same
Oh,
day?
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. How'd you do that, Mark?
Yeah, I want to watch the inauguration.
Oh, it's the inauguration. Well, we can have that both live streamed on both cameras, I guess. We're not political organization here. But,
I know. Okay. Well, thank you.
And speaking of the president, I'd just like to thank Lucy for her leadership over the past 2 years as the president.
Oh, thank you, guys.
She has, been tremendously helpful in terms of, being, and particularly during the pandemic, being responsive to get the, seems like mountain of contracts that we have to signed. So
how many did I sign? Yeah. I don't know.
How many
what
did we
facility
meet? We met on our little bench outside.
That's right. We met outside. We met at the hospital once. We met at my house a couple of times.
Yeah.
We would meet anywhere with a clipboard and a pen. We're ready to sign. Let's get these kids in.
Yep.
Job well done. Thank you, Amy, a lot. Thanks, everybody, for your attendance. It's been a great attendance. We've had good work and good cooperation from all the board members. And Mark, thank you for a good year. You've done a good. We'll keep you, Mark. You're great.
Yes, thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mark.
I saw
Thank you, Joe and Lucas, too.
Okay. Nothing else to
Merry
say.
Christmas, everybody.
Everybody,
Merry
see
Christmas.
you in January. Okay.
Happy New Year.
Goodbye.
Yes. It's calling me. I got a phone call. Somebody telling me get off. Get off.
So I'm going to end the meeting for CDRPC board members. So you just have to log back in. Okay.
That's right. Whew.
Thank you, Mark.